Welcome back. Well, now we're joined by Mr. Innocent Chukwuma, who is a regional rep for Ford Foundation West Africa. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you've done a lot of research and back and forth as well about the police for a long time, and that's where we are starting. We started today, wearing 10,000 officers to add to the rank and file of the police. And many say that's a start. And first of all, I mean, I remember the other day where we were talking about, now this 10,000, there are many questions. How do you get the right people who really want to be a policeman and not just to go on the street and do something about making, lining their pockets? How do you get genuine people to get in, given the kind of system that operates at the moment?
Yeah, I think the first thing to say is a welcome development, in the sense that the last time you had general recruitment in the police force was in 2011. So this past 4 years, you've not had general recruitment. And given the high level of attrition in large organizations, especially a police force, where you have people retiring every day, people dying of natural causes, people dying in the line of duty, people being dismissed, and people deserting the force, you would expect that you shouldn't allow that time lag. It's actually an annual thing, and the fact that it has not been done these 4 years warrants the need to recruit. But having said that, as you recognize, anytime you have this kind of ad hoc approach to catch up, because I see it as a game of catch up. We've not recruited these past 4 years. Now that we have a directive or a willing government, let's go and do it, which, by the way, was the argument that Jemmy Bewon used between 2000 and 2004, when they had this massive intake of average of 40,000 every year over 5 years. And you look at 10, 15 years down the line, the problem it has brought about, because the police colleges where these people were trained were not prepared for this massive influx. The infrastructure was not in place. You guys did this documentary at the Police College Ikeja in 2013. So the fact that we seem to be rushing it means that we may not get it all wrong, because it's something that is supposed to be plan for. As the year is ending, you are looking at people exiting the force, and you're getting the number you need to recruit, which areas, which specialization, and you plan for it. And the whole idea that it takes a federal government all the time ordering or giving directive before a police force is allowed to recruit, to me, is an anomaly.
Should it be, should it be an annual recruitment process? The question Chamberlain asks about the kind of people. Should there be a minimum level of requirement, qualification, for instance?
Well, the Police Act has, the requirement for entering into the police force. And what an annual assessment leading to recruitment does is to look at where you have the vacancies, which areas, because you have officers who have spent 2-3 decades in the force before they retire. And going with that huge experience, you ask yourself, is it at the level of constable that you need more people? Is it at the level of cadet inspectors or cadet ASPs, assistant superintendent of police? So all those require careful planning. But when you have these, general directive, go and recruit, and then, of course, you have to factor the federal character, the need to balance. At the end of the day, merit and qualifications are often sacrificed, when you go with this whole hog. And my advice is that even though the target is to recruit 10,000, you don't need to go it at the whole hog. And if you look at the police colleges, about 10 of them where these people are going to be trained, what sort of infrastructure do they have in place? I'm not sure, since the documentary was done and the response of government at the time, that much attention was placed on addressing that. And that is the one in a city like Lagos. You have those located as far-flung as Oji River in Enugu State. At that time, too, there were reports about that what you saw in Ikeja was a tip of the iceberg, considering the situation in other places. So I expect the government to take this whole thing in whole hog. Yes, the directive is necessary, but it goes beyond directive. What is the budget? What is the requirement? And all that needs to be factored.
It's quite understandable when you talk about looking at that directive. And another important thing here is that the Inspector General of Police is not new in the force, so he's risen through the rank and he understands what the needs are for the police. But it goes back to the recruitment, and you've hit the nail on the head. It must not be done, you know, at once. If you don't have the required, you know, expertise in some of these people coming in, you mustn't take them. Now, let's look at the problem they may get into in a country where so many young Nigerians are jobless. How can you see, how do you get into the minds of these individuals, young men and women who be coming before the Nigeria police for recruitment, to know who truly is desirous of serving?
The truth is that overwhelming majority of those who are going to show up for these jobs are those I describe as I beg to apply. They are not people who are driven by the desire to join the force and serve. If you read the memoirs and biographies of you know, the first generation of people that joined the police force after independence, you hear about the love for the uniform, how they turn out very neatly, the love for discipline, the love. But today, because of the high level of unemployment, which as we speak is about 50% of young people in this country have no job. And if you look at the definition of who is unemployed, it's who is available, or looking for job and not finding job. If you add to that number those who have withdrawn after months and years of looking for a job and say, you know what, no matter what I do, I'm not going to job, if you are going to get a job. So if you add that population to this 50%, you perhaps be looking at a situation where 4 out of every 5 young person in this country may not have job. And you can have that kind of situation and have stability and not have conflict, which is the other issue I want to raise, that we need to look at this issue in the larger context. If the recruitment, this massive recruitment, is motivated by a desire that once you have more numbers, that our security problem will begin to reduce, I think we may not get it, because improving law enforcement capacity is just one out of several things you need to do. In fact, in the pecking order is the lower. All the surveys that we have done in this country rated 4th to 5th. The key ones are usually addressing unemployment, addressing poverty, addressing a situation where a huge number of our people, and I dare say majority, are removed, excluded from the political, economic, and social processes because the rules of the game deliberately exclude them. And if you have that level of exclusion, will have instability.
I'm happy you're talking about exclusion, and that brings to mind inclusion, which is very key here. Community police, and which is not a new thing to you, going by what you've done over the years. But this time, it's not coming from people like yourself, but from the big boss man himself, the Inspector General of Police. How did you feel getting to hear him talk about community policing?
Well, Inspector General of Police, my good friend Solomon Arase, is one of the change agents in the police force that we have worked with over the years. It might interest you to know that it was actually when he was the principal staff officer to the former Inspector General of Police, Tafa Balogun, that the whole concept of community policing was launched in 2004. So he has risen the rank, imbibed this message, and we have seen this generation of officers who came through that process, holding leadership position in the force now, and is a critical juncture given the change that we have now, the government in new place. It seems we have all the right people in place to do this work, and one hopes that all the resources that they need to do the work will be given to them, because I'm aware that the government coming in the middle of a budget year is struggling to find the resources to invest in these critical reform programs that need to take place.
I'm just wondering, because I mean, if you're talking about this 10,000 officers who will be added to the rank and file, and now you're talking about training that the IGP had way back, now he's imbibed it, he grew in it. What kind of training will these people have if the police colleges are the way they are?
Well, you know, the generation that are affected by this low quality training are those who entered in the last 15 years. It began in year 2000, where when the Obasanjo government came into place, they realized that over the 5 years of Abacha's regime, between 1993 and 1998, there was no recruitment. There was a moratorium on recruitment in the police force, to the extent that the population came down to, at that time, about 120,000 personnel. So the need to massively recruit was there. But the way they went about it, in ad hoc manner of not properly planning, not properly preparing the institutions to train them, ended up creating more problems than it was intended to solve. So you have a generation of officers who came in the words of one a friend of mine who was running Police College Ikeja at the time. He described it as garbage in, garbage out. And those people now are rising to middle ranks. So you find out that those who are within up to maybe superintendent of police who came in within this period may have problem with quality training. But what successive IGs over the years have done is try to add more training in addition to the ones they received at the police colleges and training institutions.
So there's a possibility that that what you're talking about, taking care of before recruitment, might have crept in with these ones that came in. Issues of mental capacity in terms of the desire to serve as against the desire to just get an employment.
Yeah, I mean, you have to situate every recruitment within the social context in which it's happening. We have a problem of unemployment. People no longer have choices. When some of us went to university, as you are graduating, you are seeing a number of career options to choose. But now you don't have your parents, your friends, your colleagues are telling you, accept, accept, because if you don't accept, you are going to stay at home for years. So people just get in there, and when they get in there, they either ship in or find a shape out, or they are shaped out by the system, which is why you have this high turnover of personnel in the force, especially those who are found wanting in terms of discipline and respecting the rules.